I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm not going to force anybody to tell us what their idea is. Can I get you to tell me when we've got 5 minutes left? Can you tell me when we've got 5 minutes left so if anybody wants to ask questions?
Yeah.
So up until that point, what I want you to do is, if you feel that you've got something enough, you're happy to tell us about it, then good. I'm not going to point to people and say, tell us your idea in case it's something you aren't ready yet. So is anybody happy to tell us what they come up with so far? Put your hand up if you are happy to tell us. Okay.
It's very rough.
That's fine, of course. We have 6 minutes, 33 seconds.
It's not bad for 6 minutes. So we have the idea that you would start with a billboard, that I guess maybe a QR code or something, that then takes you to through your phone to a location. At the location, there's virtual reality, and there's some way you have to interact with the virtual reality to find a clue, to get to then take it off, and now you have to go somewhere else, find something. It becomes this sort of journey through the city, finding different clues. Definitely we thought it was important that there's things that prompt you to look around and really interact and see something differently. Multiple touch points that collect clues that take you to then the end point, which is this meetup.
Great. Sounds like a good plan. 6 minutes 33, that's a good start. I'm going to make, when you talk, I'm going to make some points that this is not criticizing you, this is just giving you some thoughts for the processes that I have because that's how I start as well. I have an idea that's sort of rough, and then I have to start thinking in other ways. The way I would next go is, what's the subtext of the transfer between the QR code to a place? What function does that form in the narrative? How can I make that relevant so it isn't just a happenstance that you go from one to the other? The second thing is, in order to get those high transfer rates from one media to another of 60% or so, there needs to be something that pulls them. So actually, for me, if there was a QR code on a billboard, that would be enough for me. But a lot of people it wouldn't be. We know QR codes are a little bit sketchy unless you're in China where they get used quite a lot. But it seems like QR codes are really for China, and everywhere else is sort of a little bit not so sure. So imagine the QR code was next to a weird question. Then maybe that would draw you more. And if it's not, it's one suggestion. It could be anything. It could be a weird image or something that draws you to scan that QR code. But there needs to be some pull, some gravitation that pulls you towards it to make that happen. Okay, who else is going to stick their hand up and say they're happy to? Yeah.
Okay. We figured out that we want to direct people to a sci-fi festival or something like that, maybe in virtual reality, where they could try to be piloted on a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And the start thing should be that there's a big billboard inside or outside, we don't know, where it's lots of different letters not known in this world should say something that you couldn't read, so you will be drawn to figure out what is this. And then in the bottom of this billboard in the corner, there will be a fingerprint reader where you have to put up your hand and press, and then you will get a note of where to look for not the festival, but maybe for some clues on the internet too. And we will guide people around the internet and to different places, and they will end up in this festival or in the spaceship, maybe in virtual reality.
Driving a spaceship.
Yeah, driving a spaceship like an alien.
It's funny how the Cube has a space scene in it, and that's the one that everyone comes up with. It's been my dream to be in space, and now you make it possible for me. People love space.
Yeah.
Like, you just see space in virtual reality so much, it's the one thing we all want to do, isn't it? Cool. Okay. Anybody else want to stick your hand up and tell us what they came up with?
Roughly, we work with the directions, which could be either scare people to meet up or motivate them. The scare tactics would be like the board saying, "You're infected," and it would just keep on counting. So bring your friends and your loved ones here, and we will have a cure within 10 hours or so. And once everyone's there, the idea of the cure would be that together that would be the cure to be together or something. The other one, which were the motivating one, was like the idea from the old Wild West, where you could come and claim a piece of land. And let's say like in Minecraft, they built Denmark in Minecraft. So we would build Denmark in a virtual reality place, and it would be for free, like 10 hours from now. You could claim your apartment or your house or something in this Denmark, because it has been built, but you have to be here in 10 hours. So that was the 2 main ideas.
Cool. It's an interest, because you start thinking about the motivation to get them to transfer, and actually it's really useful to think in terms of the same way that a PR agency would think, or a marketing agency would think. And so when I was at business school and we were studying that, we had to study psychology was involved a lot. And actually, luckily, a few years ago, I think it was 2010, Daniel Kahneman, who was one of the main psychologists that was always quoted, wrote a book called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, which is amazing for that. I mean, it's quite evil, but it's called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow. And his name is Daniel Kahneman. In terms of that, the motivation of fear, his report on that, which was done for the advertising sector, was called Prospect Theory. And it's about people are more motivated by what they're going to, not losing what they have, than by gaining something. It's a very useful motivator from one platform to another. We're at 5 minutes, so I'm sorry if we didn't hear your ideas, but I hope it was useful to do that. Did anybody have any questions in this last 5 minutes we have now?
One question is, I see for your whole workers, you like to scare the people first, to get them more involved and more attention. Have you any idea for virtual reality storytelling without scaring the people first? So more like give them a good feeling first, not a bad.
Yeah, this is actually the cube starts with a discussion one-on-one, and it's not frightening at all. The story is very weird. The point where it becomes scary is where you enter in and you realise you're one of the characters who's gone missing. And then yes, then it's like it's not horror movie though. It's just uneasy, like a Twin Peaks or something like that. That just happens to be my style. Nearly everything I've ever done has that kind of sensation in it.
Yeah, I see that you like to scare the people,
yeah.
But for me, I think scaring the people is the easiest part to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you choose the easiest part to enter.
Absolutely, I try to take the easy part.
Yeah, but that's me. I'm also like this. I want to make money out of it, so I do the easiest way first to see. But for you, I see it's, your audience is very. I said 10,000 people to 100,000 people.
Yeah.
What is your idea to talk to millions?
That's a good question. It is not really my role. And what will happen is that some of the things that I do maybe get adopted by other people who think that way. With the Birds Fly from the Sky, I got offers of investment for that kind of expansion out, and it wasn't my interest at all. I'm not actually in it to make money. I'm in it to pay the bills and to keep making work that's very powerful. So I don't really think in that way. But I don't have any problem with people who do either. There's a need for that. And in terms of thinking about approaching people in a way that isn't using that kind of eerie, uncomfortable, it's not something I'm interested in. And it's for other people. There are other people working in that area. Yeah.
As you were saying, you like to use the scare tactics, which I think is a good use of this medium. But how much do you think about the ethics involved? Because you're trying to blur the sort of reality and reality. Do you worry about taking it?
Not at all, and I'll tell you why. This question was asked to me a year ago when I first started working on, it was the second tour of Beyond the Black Bucket Nowhere in Australia. The subtext of this show, The Cube, what happens, and I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to spoil it all for you, but it's important. When you follow the transmedia trail, you end up at a point where it's revealed to you that it's not truthful. That you think you're in a story that's real, and I reveal to you that it isn't. And then I do that by talking about the mobile planning formula, which is the thing that happens to you every day that no one ever questions. And that is that 40% of all the money spent in America, for example, is spent on public relations, trying to convince you that the world is one way or another. Actually, I'm one small voice amongst very powerful entities that are trying to convince you that the world is a particular way, so that you will agree to go to war in Iraq, or so that you will agree to boot out refugees, or so you will agree to whatever it might be that is in their interest, not yours. So my voice is doing the same, using the same tools, trying to have the same powerful effect, but then turning it on you and telling you you've been manipulated, and you're manipulated every single day. So my answer to the ethics issue is yes, in a way what I'm doing is unethical, but I don't really care. It's unethical to a point where I reveal to you what I've done to you. And in that way I'm hoping that certain people will be enabled to be more critically analytical of the information they've received, which is nearly all bullshit. And in fact, I live in a world, I grew up in the UK, which had punk and a massive postmodern explosion and understanding by my generation that no one definition of the world is correct. That we all walk around with our own perspective, and that any voice that's telling you that they have the answer, for me, they're evil and they should be booted out. And they're not going to stop doing it, so the only way of doing it is booting out with your own intellect.
But there's a contradiction in what you're saying, because by placing the people in virtual reality, you are imposing your voice on them. And so you come from a movement that doesn't like that when you're doing that.
The narrative of the cube is all about there not being a definition of reality. And it puts you in you're in two places at once. You're in what we call the real world and a virtual world at the same time. And what it's doing all the time is undermining both. And as I said here, I'm using the tools that other people use to convince you to try and help you understand that's what's happening all the time.
No, I get it, but what I'm saying is virtual reality, by the very fact of someone building a model in which you immerse someone, is sort of really destroying your ability to have any kind of discernment or distance to what you're living. And so, in a sense, virtual reality is only empowering the fact that you can impose a